Hello and welcome to episode number 51 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're talking about how to find your playgroup.
Man, guys, it's been a crazy week.
Yes.
It's been a pretty crazy week. I should say because Jim's not playing anymore.
Nope.
But we've got a tournament coming up, and we spent one of our normal nights that we normally get a lot of recording done, basically tournament prepping. So I'm behind, and then I had to mow the yard, and then our AC went out. Yeah, it's been crazy. Man. It's been a pretty crazy week over here. But you don't want to hear about that, do you?
Nope.
What you do want to hear about is audiobooks, I think. We're going to talk about audiobooks for a second. If you go to www.audibletrial.com/hobbiesandhappiness, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible and get yourself a free book. I know past couple times I have talked about the We Are Bob series. Definitely go check it out. If you guys have not signed up yet, go sign up. I'm going on a trip at the end of the month. I just downloaded the last book in the series. I have to finish book 3. So once I finish book 3, I've got book 4 prepped and ready to go for the long drive. So I'm going to finish that whole series on that trip, and honestly, I am looking forward to it. So again, if you head over audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, you can sign up for your free 30-day trial and pick up one free book. You get one free book that's yours to keep, even when the trial's over. And if you don't want to keep doing Audible, you still get that free book. So head over to audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness to sign up for your free trial and free book as well. All right. So on today's episode, you know what? We're on the downhill towards episode 100.
Oh man.
We just crossed
second half.
We just crossed the halfway of on our way to episode 100. So that's exciting. But yeah, so today we're talking about how to find your playgroup. This is actually a pretty popular topic, I should say, within the tabletop space, especially if you're a newcomer, if you've been playing any sort of game or you want to get into a game, everyone's been there. We have all been there. If you ever go to a game store and you see people sitting down, everyone had that initial moment of walking into a store or having that realization of, man, there's this game I want to play, but how do I do this consistently, right? How do I find people to play with? It's like if you're living by yourself, like if you're in an apartment and it's like, dude, I want to play this game, but it requires that there's a lot of people to play. But even if you're a big solo player, if you play a lot of solo games, honestly, it's a lot more fun. A lot of those solo games you can play cooperatively as well. Like Marvel Champions is a big one. Arkham Horror, a lot of these cooperative LCGs can be played solo, but they can also be played in a group setting. And honestly, it's a different feeling playing these games solo than it is playing them cooperatively with another player. Not putting down solo play at all, because it is its own little thing. It's different, and it's still great. It definitely serves its audience very well. And I know a lot of people who only play games solo because they enjoy it. You
don't have anyone to rely on, but then you also don't have anyone to blame either.
Yeah, right. right. It's like it's its own little rush of when you get through something like I did that by myself.
Yeah.
Like you definitely are the one who took care of it, but then you're also the one who messed it up. So it's got its give and take. It's got its give and take here. So what we wanted to do is we kind of wanted to give you all our tips of how to find your playgroup, right? So we've obviously been in this space for a while. We've been in it for
time.
Yep. So and we both went through it. We both have our own different experiences, which we've talked about plenty of times before. But we wanted to give 3 separate tips that honestly, I think would serve anyone in this situation of wanting to play these games with other people, right? And because that's really where it starts, right? Is you have a game and you're like, dude, I want to play this with more people. Like, if you're playing something and you're having a ton of fun, the natural next thing you're going to want to do is share that experience with somebody else, right? Like, whatever the case may be, whether that be Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Marvel Champions, Dice Throne, whatever the case may be. And a lot of those things, it's like, well, I can't necessarily play this by myself. Like, I need to play with someone else, right? And that's not always the case, but if it's a competitive setting, yes. And like a lot of these games, like I specifically play or want to play because it's a competitive game, right? And it's meant to be played that way. Like, there's a couple of games that like I'm getting into now that I'm like, okay, I'm following these steps that we're about to talk about, and wanting to find more people, find the people who play these games and do events and be like, all right, how can I get involved here, and how can I start playing these competitively with other people? Because that's what I'm looking for. Is I don't want to play it casually. Like, I want to play these games in a higher level. Yeah, I know.
I like how in order for you to play Magic competitively, you had to completely change formats.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, it's funny you
like,
say that.
I've been saying this for a long time too. I'm just like,
what have you been saying?
Well, that like Commander, like sure you can play it competitively, but it's
not the format to be played competitively.
Yeah, I'm like, if you want to play a format, or if you just want to play Magic competitively as a whole, like Modern is, I think, like the best format to do it in.
Yeah, it's either Modern, Standard, or that's really it. Pretty much, right?
I mean, I guess you could say like Pioneer now, but I don't.
Yeah, but not yet. I don't think.
Also, I guess if you're playing on MTGO, you can play any format competitively.
Yeah, right.
Especially Vintage, because they released the Power 9 stuff and like all the OG lands in a Vintage Masters set.
Yeah, right.
That's only for MTGO, which brings the price down ridiculously.
Yeah. Right. But like MTGO is its own thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there are leagues and tournaments. Now, granted, I am speaking as someone who hasn't really dove into MTGO yet. But I'm speaking more as an outsider, so take it for what you will, right? But I feel like MTGO is really its own thing. Like, yes, you can play all these formats on MTGO, but yes, you can play in these leagues and you get trophies or what have you, but like, does it really matter? Like, and obviously, now obviously that question is like
yes, I'd say so.
That question is very much a what's the word I'm looking for? It's super subjective, obviously, right? But I guess what I'm more so getting at is like, you have the pro tours and whatnot. Most of those are all IRL, or it's MTG Arena now, where that's where a lot of these big money tournaments are.
Yeah.
Is that stuff happening on MTGO?
If we're talking about that scale, I would say no.
Yeah, that's more what I'm saying is scale.
Yeah.
Right.
Could it have been like that back in the day, like when it was first really a thing? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing it that long, nor Magic that long.
Yeah, because and I know like a lot of people reference like league results for metagame analysis and what have you. And honestly, MTGO is the only place you can play Modern online.
Yeah.
Right now, really. Yeah. So,
Same with Vintage, Legacy.
Right. Oh,
and Arena has like its own little format.
Explorer.
Explorer is one.
Isn't Explorer like
essentially Hearthstone?
Well, isn't Explorer like the mini Pioneer until they have the entire card pool of Pioneer in Arena? Isn't that what?
Explore, they even like change the stats on cards as well.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. So, and then they also have this other thing that's like Discover.
Wait, are you talking Alchemy?
Oh, is that the one I'm thinking of?
I think you're thinking of
Okay, I'm
Alchemy.
thinking of Alchemy for the testing stuff then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Explorer, you can have like, as long as the card is on Arena and it's not banned in the format, you can play it. And they have like cards that are banned in Modern, and then cards that are banned in Vintage.
Which I'm pretty sure.
Legacy.
Which I'm pretty sure that. Now I just heard about Explorer the other day.
Yeah.
I literally just heard about it. But my understanding is because the goal of Arena is to have Pioneer fully supported on Arena, and they're not there yet with the card pull.
Oh yeah.
So what they're saying is like, well, we're gonna have this new format, and we're calling it Explorer, but eventually it'll be Pioneer. Like that's what I think. But correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not totally sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah. So that's why I say I'm not totally sure. Again, talking about MTGO, I'm not don't have the experience, right? But that's just what I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I know there's people out there listening who have more experience with MTGO than either of us do. So yeah, let me know.
The thing I really like about MTGO is that like you don't have to be participating in one of these big time tournaments like we were talking about with the Pro Tour and whatnot in order to just win consistent money. Because you can just win money for entering a league, entering whatever tournament's happening that day, and it's not a big extravagant thing, right?
So you can win actual money. It's not like a cosmetic trophy. It's actual cash.
Well, yeah. So you win tickets in the game, right?
I
but you
see.
can still sell these tickets to people.
Them. Understood. Yeah. I got you.
So yeah, like you still make money from doing this stuff. So like it matters.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But it's not like a triple star tournament.
Right. You spend money to buy in, and then you're awarded the tickets, which you can sell for real world money.
Yeah,
I see. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So all right, before we continue down the magic hole, which we do, let's get into these. So. We've got three kind of tips that we want to share with you that, honestly, I think this is really what you need to do in the current year, right? And if you have more, let us know, right? First thing is find a game you want to play. So it's funny because I am in the process, right, of finding these new card games that are new to me. They're not new, right, by any stretch of the imagination, but they are new to me, okay? And I'm upset, right, because I totally missed the boat, right? So, like, and the reason I'm upset is because, like, it's not that I missed the boat with the game. Like, you can still, like, get product, right? It's kind of hard to get with some of these games, but you're still able to get it, right? But a lot of these games are competitive games, and like they had a very competitive and very much thriving organized play system and like community of people playing the game.
Yeah.
Now that these games are considered dead, right? Those communities are still there, but they're not to the point where they once were, right? So that's why I'm sad a little bit, right? And so like even today, I'm like looking at the future of like Fantasy Flight. I'm like, man, so Fantasy Flight right now, they've got Marvel Champions, which is a fantastic game. I love that game. But it's very much a competitive game. It's a very much, or I'm sorry, cooperative.
Co-op, yeah.
It's very much a co-op game, right? With the, it was early this year or last year where they announced that Legend of the Five Rings, they were no longer supporting that game, right? Yeah. And that was one that I never really got into either, right?
I played it a few times. I wasn't the biggest fan.
But I'm like, man, like I want a competitive game that's current and people are playing. Yeah. Like an expandable game that's not a TCG or a CCG. Like the big TCGs and CCGs right now, like Magic is always going to be around, I feel like. But Flesh and Blood, like I've played Flesh and Blood a little bit. I'm still nowhere near where I would need to be to play it on any sort of competitive level, right? But I mean, that's starting to get big. And if you want to get into Flesh and Blood, you got to be prepared to drop bank.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's because like with Flesh and Blood, like yes, my understanding is like they're rewarding their player base, but you got to be in the game to be rewarded, right?
You definitely have to keep up with it.
If you miss the boat on a set, sorry, like sorry, not sorry, man.
Yeah. The other cool thing / kind of a bad thing is like their ban list. So once a hero gets to a certain amount of points for like winning tournaments,
right?
No one can play him anymore. He's just like completely exiled.
Yeah, it's gone. That's a living legend status, I think.
Yeah,
is what they call it.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, like it's cool, but I'm curious, like who is that rewarding?
Yeah.
Like who does that reward? I mean, I don't know what the actual intent is.
Yeah.
Again, speaking from someone on the outside, and like I'm not putting it down or anything. I'm just I'm not sure what the intent is because like with
it's keeping the metagame fresh at that point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because rather than waiting for a ban list,
yeah,
you're just like, oh, all right, well, he, at the end of this next month, he's most likely going to hit the points for ban list. Let's start making.
But I also
else.
think they do ban lists as well.
Maybe I have no idea.
Yeah, because I know that because I follow some Flesh and Blood groups a little bit on Facebook. And like I'm pretty sure that they had like a very recent banned announcement.
Okay. So I guess they'll step in if something does need to change. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, not totally sure though, because again we don't really play it. Yeah. But like that's another example of a pretty big TCG on the market, right? Yeah. TCG or CCG. As far as those two, I mean, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh. I still have yet to play Yu-Gi-Oh. And like Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, man. We've talked about this, but Yu-Gi-Oh is not super like the current formats are not where a lot of people like to play.
It's still the most popular format.
Really?
Yeah. Advanced is still the most popular format.
Now, advanced is like standard, right? Like that's the current card pool type thing.
It's more like legacy is what we'll say. It's more like legacy.
How so?
So
are you talking about the speed?
No. Well, okay. I mean, they're still winning on like turn 4s and probably even faster sometimes.
Okay, are there control decks in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right. But do they still win in turn 4?
No, they win on turn 1.
Oh gosh. Are there control decks that go long?
Like longer than turn 4?
Oh gosh, yes.
I guess it depends.
Oh man.
Like it depends on if your opponent can break your board, essentially.
Yeah.
But otherwise you're just like, all right, well, I have 4 Omni negates. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you do when you have 5 cards in hand, draw into a 6th? You're essentially playing with 2 cards, in theory.
Wow.
So,
but it just doesn't sound fun to me.
Dan, honestly, you'd probably love playing a control, or not a control deck,
a combo
deck. You'd be like, I'm going through everything. Yeah, you think like your combo decks you play now are crazy. Wait till you do it all on one turn, okay? But yeah, so for Yu-Gi-Oh, the advanced format was really the only format that people played before they came out with these latest formats, right?
Now, real quick, it's funny he says that because just today I'm like prepping for the tournament, right? And I'm goldfishing, and I'm like, all right, can I do it on turn 4? Okay, I mean, I can pretty consistently do turn 4, turn 3, I can do it. Yeah. Here I'm on turn 2, and I'm pretty good spot. So. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he understands.
I understand.
So
now that I'm playing Modern, I get it.
Yeah. So for the Yu-Gi-Oh, it's the advanced format was really the only format that people played, but it had a ban list. Okay. They had 2 formats, advanced and traditional. Traditional made it to where there was no cards ban at all, but it was limited to 1. So every card that was on the ban list was put to minimum of 1. Mm-hmm. So. And it goes all the way back to the first set of Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's why I'm saying it's like vintage.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So Yu-Gi-Oh's the thing. I mean, like, but what other big TCGs and CCGs? You've got Cardfight Vanguard, but how popular is that in LGSs, I wonder? Like like a
Yeah, I'm
lot of
not
people,
too
a
sure.
lot of new players, like if they're coming in and not super familiar with card games, it's like they'll say, "Oh, well, Pokemon, right? I
Yeah.
don't know how I miss Pokemon." They'll come in and they'll say it's Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, or Magic, right?
Yeah, those are
Those
always
are
the
the
top
three.
three.
Those are the
Yeah.
top three, right?
Yeah.
And very, very different games.
Yeah.
All three of them.
All three are drastically different.
Yeah, they're insanely different, right? So so within those three, those are your big ones, and then outside of those, now Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood is
I think
starting
Flesh and
to
Blood
get
is
up
top
there.
4.
Yeah.
Oh, that or Dragon Ball Super.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball
Super is
Dragon
up
Ball
there too.
And now you're getting now we're getting Digimon.
Yeah,
Because
Digimon's up there too.
Digimon is recent.
Yeah.
Digimon's pretty recent,
Yeah.
right? But now the question becomes though, how do you find the game, right? How do you find the game you want to play?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the times now you're going into a store or you're seeing it somewhere, whether that's on a shelf, on the internet, or YouTube. Excuse me. But you're seeing it somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So like for me, I don't know what it was. Like, I've told this story before, but the reason I went into Grapple for the first time was because I knew I wanted to try Magic. I wanted to play it. And I got to that because, my wife's cousin, we were sitting down, we were playing games, like we're getting into tabletop, right? And I knew Magic was a thing, right? From seeing it around for so many years, right?
Yeah.
Knew it was a thing. So I'm like, I know Magic's a thing. Like, let's check it out. Let's try and get into this. So I did some research, went on the internet, went to Wizards website, WotC's website, right? Started looking into it, then found out, oh, they're actually handing out free decks. Like if you go to a local game store that's participating in the program, okay, they should hand out free decks. So I'm like, oh, sweet. Found out where it was, went in like, hey, I've heard that they do this thing. They offer free decks. Do you have some? Like, yeah, here you go. Pretty sure Cody was working.
Probably.
Pretty sure it was him. Okay. So,
Like that was before I started working there. So,
and it was funny. Somebody was in there trying to build a Lord of the Rings commander deck.
oh,
Yeah, it was a Lord of the Rings themed commander deck. It was very, very weird.
that was before Kenrith.
Yeah, it was before Kenrith. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Mongar. There was a Mangara card who was like the equivalent. He was saying is the equivalent of Gandalf.
Okay.
I know what the card is. I just can't remember the card name. I think it's like Mangara of Kandor or something. I'd have to double check it. But in any case, I'm listening to the conversation. I'm hearing Lord of the Rings. I'm like, is this guy building like Lord of the Rings? What? And so Cody told me what it was. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So we got those decks. We came home and I'm like, okay, I watched a couple of videos because I had no idea how to play, right?
Yeah.
So I watched a couple of videos, figured out how to play. I'm like, okay, I think this is what you do. What, like, I see a land. I'm like, what? I don't know what this is, but I think we do this, and then that's how you pay for it because that's the cost up there. It took a lot of learning, right? But that was the start. Like, it all started with, I think I want to get into Magic, right? And it was only because, like I said, I'd heard about it for so many years, and I'm like, I knew I loved card games right at that point. But again, my experience with card games was digital, like Hearthstone, Elder Rings, or Elder Scrolls Legends. I said Hearthstone, but just all digital, right? But it was finally, I'm like, all right, well, I've got somebody here who we're going to play together, right? So let's get into physical card games. So that was what it was. But again, it all started with knowing I wanted to play Magic. So I know I've heard your story, your whole birthday story.
Yeah, I mean that was for Yugioh, but for Magic, it was I met some random guy at a card shop, and specifically Grapple, specifically Brendan, and I was just hanging out one day at the table, and I heard him talking, or I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, and he just started talking to me randomly about stuff that he had.
Now, was this before you knew Brendan?
This was me meeting Brendan for the first time.
Oh, why does that not surprise me?
So, and then like we were talking for a little bit about Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got this and this and this," and so I was interested in getting it from him because he didn't play anymore. So I picked up some cards from him. We started talking more and more about stuff. We were talking about Vanguard and then also Magic. I didn't know like anything about Magic really, aside from I quit a little bit ago before that time frame.
Yeah.
And
we've all heard this story.
Yeah. And that I never even would have thought about playing Magic if it wasn't for Duel Masters.
Really?
Yeah. Duel Masters is what kind of gave me like the idea or like the respect to even play it. Because when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm like, everyone in Yu-Gi-Oh just bad mouths every other card game.
Yeah.
Right? It's still a thing.
Yep.
And so like I was a part of it because, well, that's all I knew for cards.
But you know what? Like, it's funny. Like, that is so true.
Yeah.
But our channel, like, we are all about just all card games.
Yeah.
Like, we love and respect all of these different card games.
Yeah.
And we look at the strengths and weaknesses that each one has. And like, I just love all of them. Like, they're all so different. But within just this amazing genre of card games, there's just such a wide variety of the type of experience that you can have.
Yeah. And so I met Brendan there, and we were talking for a little bit. He went off to basic training, and then pretty much, I actually partake in one F&M there. It was before Kaladesh. It was Eldritch Moon, and I think it was Eldritch Moon, or that one just came out or about to.
Did he give you a deck?
And I was playing his Rakdos aggro list. I had no idea what I was doing. No clue. And so like my one of my first games, I didn't know you attack with like everything at once. And so I'm over here picking up one card, and I am like, all right, I'll attack your creature. He's like, what? You can't do that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm over here playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm like, all right, I'll kill your creature
with Magic cards.
Yeah, so no idea what I was doing at all. And then that was my first like real time playing. Well, that was my first Magic tournament. F&M. I just completely lost everything.
Yep.
And and then we could fast forward after he got back from basic. I was playing other decks. I played like some Golgari. It was a rock Delirium list. So it was Golgari Delirium.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh man, you got Emrakul." I forget its name. Yeah. Promise then, yeah. He's like, "Oh, you can cast it." I'm like, "How am I able to cast this? I'm nowhere close to the mana." No idea what Delirium was or like what that even
the reduced
meant.
Cost.
Exactly.
Because with Emrakul, the Promise End, it reduces the cost based on the card types in your yard.
Yeah, so I could have played it, taken his next turn, and I would have had this creature out on board.
Yep.
No idea I could have even done that. Lost the game terribly. And
Dude, what are you doing?
And then he was like, "Here, just play this Boros Smuggler's Copter list, Boros aggro." And then I proceeded to like 3-0, 4-0,
Yep.
depending on the night. Yeah. Yep. And I'm like, this is great.
Well, it was funny because that was the time when I got into Magic.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing against. So it's funny because he mentions Brendan. Brendan was one of the first people that I ever played in Magic at Grapple. He beat me terribly. It was funny because we just met up with him not that long ago. Okay, for tournament prep, and I told him this story. He's like, "Really? I don't remember that." I'm like, "Oh, I do." I'm like, I wouldn't expect him to, but for me, it was one of the first times that I had played. So he's playing a mono green stompy list, like Galta turn 3, which Galta is a 10-10. I think he's a 10-10.
I was going to say,
or 12.
So during standard, the earliest you could get it was a turn 4.
Was it turn 4?
Yeah.
So it must have been turn 4.
Yeah.
I'm like
12.
Well, I'm dead.
10,
I'm playing goblins.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "You want to play modern?" I'm like, what is modern? I had no clue about anything. Now look at me.
Now we're here.
Now we're here.
Preparing for a modern tournament.
Yep. So yeah, but again, this all comes back to like we got into a game. Like we found a game. We both got into Magic specifically very, very differently, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's where it starts, is finding a game. Okay. Now the next thing, right, is honestly finding an LGS, finding a local game store. Okay. In each of our stories, that was the next logical step, right? Yep. So again, for me, first thing, I knew I wanted to play Magic, okay? The next thing was, okay, let me look and see where can I get product, okay? How can I get this game? For a lot of games, a lot of them, if you go to the website, like their official website, they'll list local game stores that are partners or distributors or whatever the case may be, where you can pick up their product, right? And each of these games has different like programs. Like for Wizards, it's WPN, the Wizards Play Network, and like if you're part of it, they will list your store on their website. And honestly, that's a big thing because a lot of people go to the game's website. Like in this case, Wizards of the Coast, it's a magic.wizards.com, I think is the actual website. And then if you want to play, they'll list the stores in your area, right? And that's what happened for me. Like that's how I found Grapple.
I wonder if you could just Google where can I play Magic in my area?
Probably.
And like that's like the number one thing.
Probably. Yeah. So that's how I found Grapple, right? So that's where it starts, okay? Is finding your store and then showing up, okay? Yeah. Step one is just going in, have a conversation with somebody who's playing, the owner. Honestly, just find the owner or a worker and be like, "Hey, I'm interested in getting into this game. Like, what are there people who play this game here?" Right? And for the big three, big four, there's probably gonna be a community there. Yeah. Like, for Grapple, there was a pretty big Magic community. I know there was a big Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh as well, correct? I know my Magic was big.
So Pokemon didn't even really start picking up until later on.
Really?
Yeah, because
but it eventually had one.
Eventually, we had a small group of people that dabbled with Pokemon,
which is why I think it's super important that if you have an LGS, that you are well versed in all of these games. Yeah. And that's why, like, for us, we're making it such a priority of, like, I'm going to have a Magic deck. We're going to have Pokemon decks. We had a Jim's the Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
Yeah. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh guy. I play it.
Yes. But between the two of us, you talk to him if you want to know Yu-Gi-Oh, not me.
And I dabble in like every card game, essentially.
Right. Same.
So
and I have to dabble in Yu-Gi-Oh. I know.
So the thing
Get off my back, okay?
Our Vanguard community was bigger than our Pokemon community.
Really?
And we had like 5 people for Vanguard.
Oh,
like
really?
if that.
Wow.
So yeah,
I remember seeing people playing Pokemon. I know there wasn't a lot, but they were there. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, if I see a super small community, like when we have our store, if I see a small community like that, I'm like, all right, guys, I got you. Like, I will support you. Let's see what we can do to get more people into your game. But honestly, for a lot of card game players, it's like, yes, there are a lot of games out there. There's a lot of things to choose from. True. Right? And especially if you're in a trading card game or a collectible card game, it's not financially feasible to stay current in like a lot of them, right? And I get it. I totally get it. That's why I love the living card game genres / formats. Honestly, I think format's a good thing to say. I mean, I know it means multiple things, but I don't know what else to say right now, honestly. But the living card games, you have expandable card games. Yeah, that's where it's at. Like I love it so much because that is such a lower barrier to entry. Right, but that's not to say like I'm not going to get into it in a collectible or trading card game. Yeah, right. Because like collecting cards is another big thing too, right? It
It's one of
absolutely
my favorite
is.
things.
No, right, for sure. Same. I mean, you saw my collection.
Yeah.
You've seen and how I love to like organize and show stuff off. Like, dude, I get it. And that's a whole other topic in and of itself. It really is, like collectability and why we collect stuff, but we'll save that for another time. But again, go to your LGS. You have to go to your LGS and then get involved, right? Stop in, meet the local players. Because I remember the first few times I started going to Grapple, I remember meeting people, just talking to them and saying, "Hey, what are you guys playing?" Like I saw people play Magic. I was asking questions about another game I saw on a shelf. The people who were there were super kind and explained the game to me. Like, "Oh man, you'd love it. It's so cool." But honestly, like a lot of it too is meeting the owners, like ownership. Because they're the ones who make the decisions, right? If you say, "Hey, I want to play this game," and they know that there's interest, then they'll start supporting it, right? They'll start putting on events, they'll start putting on tournaments. Like ownership is where it's at because they're the decision makers, right?
For sure.
Right. So yeah, like getting into your LGS, and I know it can be difficult finding a good one. Like especially if you're an hour away from your nearest one. Like I get it, right? But I do think it's very important to get involved and then like get involved in that community, right? Because being involved in a physical and actual community is huge, very different from an online community. Very, very different. I think both are important, and I'm not going to say which one's better, but they're very different.
Yeah.
No, yes, I will. I will.
They're very different.
They're very different, but I do think that physical community is more important. I really do. As human beings, we need that actual social connection, and that's why the pandemic was so terrible. Like that was one of the biggest things that people craved. They missed that actual physical connection with people.
The thing I really like about online communities is that you can get so much more brain power into some topic than you could at a local game store. If like you're only talking to 5 people about it, well, you could go on Reddit, you can go on a Discord, you can go on, YouTube comments. You can see what people are talking about when it comes to a specific game or a specific deck list. Right. And then like it's completely different thing.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. But I do think as human beings, as social creatures, that physical connection is so much more valuable and more important. Not saying that those online communities are bad. It's just it's different. Yeah. And I think online communities are good and they have their purpose. Absolutely they do. Right. But those physical in-person connections and communities as social creatures are so much more valuable and so much more important. And that's why I say, if it's possible for you to get involved in one, that you prioritize that, right? Because dude, with our phones now, like we have these online communities wherever we go, right? Yeah. And so technology is fantastic, right? Has so many uses. But I still think you value the social and physical connections over anything else. So, yeah. So tip number 2: find and get involved in your LGS. Right, like that's going to be your next thing. Okay. Number 3, we just talked about it. Find online communities. It's so easy, guys. It's so easy now, right? Discord, Facebook, Twitter. Like so many. There's so many. So I just talked about getting into these new to me card games, right? The first thing that I did, right, is I went to Facebook and I searched for groups. Okay. I searched for groups. Okay. I will name 3 games right here. Versus 2PCG. Okay. That's 1. Netrunner, number 2. And then number 3, shoot, what was the third one? Oh, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, a card game, right? Also Dice Throne, like Ashes, so many. But once I found the game, Okay. Next thing, Facebook groups and Discord.
Yes.
I found all these communities. I'm like, join. Hey guys, how's it going? You know, just wanting to get into this game. Resource, like what resources are out there that I can look into. Just want to introduce myself. And like so many of these, and obviously it's different from community to community. If you've been on the internet for any amount of time, you know, not all communities are created equal and are welcoming
At all.
Not the case. Absolutely not. It is very true. Some communities are better than some other ones, right? And honestly, you're not gonna know until you join. Like you don't,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, you're not gonna know until you join.
Yeah. Even if we're talking about you're going on Facebook and you see how many people are inside of a group, right?
Yeah.
It could be like a couple thousand. Well, there could be a handful of people there that really help you out. Other people are just going to ignore you. Well, most people are going to ignore you.
Yeah.
But if you can find those smaller groups that are like 50 to 100 people, like a lot of the times those people are more
like 1,000.
inclusive.
Honestly, like 1,000 to 2,000.
Yeah.
I found that that's actually a pretty good sweet spot for a lot of these Facebook groups and even Discord servers. Like,
And it really depends on like what you're trying to find.
yeah,
So,
right. Like a lot of these smaller card games, especially the ones that are dead, right? Those communities are really just like, I don't want to know the diehards and like the people who just really enjoy the game. Like, and they're clearly very much incentivized to get more people into the game who want to play it because, hey, there's more people to play, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's finding these online. You got to find the communities and then get involved. I mean, dude, if you're on Discord, I don't know about you, but I'm in so many Discords, and like honestly, I don't even check all of them. It's
If
just
you guys
I'm
are on
there.
Discord, join our Discord.
Yes, join our Discord, guys. Link is in every one of our YouTube
Everywhere.
videos.
It's everywhere.
Every one of our YouTube videos is like one of the first 3 links. Join our Discord.
And inside the Discord, we have a wide variety of games in there that people talk about.
Yep. Right now, a lot of people are talking about Magic. And honestly, like a lot of our in-person community is made up from a lot of people from the Grapple Magic community. But we have threads for like every game. In fact, a lot of these new ones, I'm creating new channels. Like here's channels for these games that we can all talk about. And I think people appreciate it because it like gives you a specific place to talk about a game that you enjoy. Actually, we just had somebody talk about they were just in Disney for there's a new ride. Guardians, I think it's Guardians of the Galaxy something.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's getting me stoked for the Nova pack. I'm like, sweet, that's awesome. So, and there goes my dog.
There's the puppy.
Yes, there's the puppy. All right. There she goes. Goodbye, doggo. So, but yeah, like we've got a lot in there, right? And so honestly, like everybody in the Discord is super helpful and super kind. Honestly, we just enjoy having any kind of conversation with anybody. And then there's Noah posting all of his memes and his pictures of his 3D machine. Oh, hey, what's up, Noah?
Oh,
you, dude?
we didn't see you there. I know he doesn't watch.
So anyway, so Discord's huge. Honestly, like I think the 2 big things that I found is Facebook groups and Discords. I don't go on Reddit. I've never been the biggest fan of Reddit, but Reddit is a thing. Some people like it, some people don't. I've just not been the biggest fan. But for me, what I found is Facebook groups and Discord are for me the best tools that I've found to connect with game communities. Like versus 2PCG right now, like there's a good Discord, and I've already had good conversations with folks in that Discord that I'm and have been super helpful and super nice. But like I said, same thing with Netrunner, all these different communities, they've all been pretty good. And honestly, a lot of times, anytime they see, oh, hey, new player, oh, awesome. I hit me up if you ever want to learn. I can show you the ropes. I'm like, great, that's awesome. So that would be my next suggestion.
The cool thing about the Facebook groups, and then same thing with Discord, is you can find, more specific groups inside of this larger group. So you're like, all right, well, I like playing Magic, but what kind of decks do I like to play in Magic? Well, now I can go find a blue-white control group specifically for Magic, or a Jund list, or an Abzan
or an Amulet
deck,
Titan,
whatever it is.
whatever,
Like they're all out there as well.
Right,
If you want to get
right.
more specific
Right.
and getting better with your play as well.
right? And that's just technology. Like it's just it has advanced so very very much, and it's like you need to be connected in order to see it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. So that's one of the things for me that's exciting and really lowers that barrier to entry for a lot of these games that I'm finding. And I'm like the ones that I just talked about. Yes, a lot of them are dead, but there's thriving communities out there that still love this game and want to see it succeed as well. So it still makes it, yes, the game's not being made anymore, but you can still play it. Like you get your hands on it, you can still play it, and there's still people playing these awesome games. So recap, step 1, find a game. Find your game. However, and I'm not going to tell you what to play, but everybody has their own method of finding a game, and like they'll just see it a lot. And how many times, like if you just see in a game and you're like, that looks awesome, I want to try and play that.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
A couple times.
Yep. So step 1, find a game. Step 2, find your LGS, get involved in your LGS. Okay. And then step 3, find online communities. Right. And we've talked about this before too. Like as tabletop game players, there is a stigma, right? There is that nerd stigma, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some people, in fact, a lot of people nowadays, I feel like embrace it, right?
Yeah. It's nerd culture.
But it's more so like a lot, and you can attest to this. I know you can. A lot of people in this space, I don't want to say they're antisocial, but they have a hard time getting out of their bubble, essentially.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very much introverts in this space. Like, and I know you know them, right? Like if you're watching this or you're listening to this, like if you're at all involved in this space, you know some people who are like that. And it's hard for them to get out of that shell, right? For me, like my personality is very outgoing, right? It's very easy for me to introduce myself to new people, meet new people. Like I find that very easy, but that's not the case for a lot of people in these hobbies, right?
Yeah.
In the tabletop space. So
I know for me.
yeah. So like,
if I'm not in like my element, I have a rough time. I'll just like stand against a wall or something.
so like for us, like if we're interacting with somebody who neither of us knows, right?
Yeah.
I know it's difficult for him to try and like talk to them maybe, or just really get involved in the conversation. So naturally I'll just jump in and like, I'll start talking. I'll kind of break the ice and try to get the people in that conversation more comfortable with each other, like make it easier for everyone to just get more comfortable and just start talking, right?
Yeah.
And so like for us, like as people who want to one day own a shop, like we have to do what we can to get people to come out, right? Knowing that, all right, the like our target demographic, like the people who we know want to come to the shop, are going to have a tough time.
Yeah.
Just they're not going to be the ones seeking it out, right?
Yeah.
And who knows, sometimes they will be, but they're going to have a tough time just pulling that trigger of coming out, right? So we want to make that easier, right? We want to make it easier for those people, right? So like if you're involved and like you find it very easy, like you're outgoing, do what you can to make it easier for your friends who aren't that way. Like, and I don't know how to do that sometimes. Like don't put pressure, right, on your friends. Like if they're having a tough time, all right, like just do what you can to help them, right? What does that help look like? Dude, it's so different from each and every person. Like it really, really
Just
is.
drag them by the hair.
There you go.
Like,
You heard it here. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Drag them by the hair. All right. This is not legal advice.
this is not financial advice, neither.
So, yeah, I think those are the tips, guys. You got anything else to add? I mean, like we kind of ran through the gamut here.
Yeah, I don't think anything else.
And honestly, like in this day and age, like there's really not much else there is to it. Like we can lay it out for you, but at the end of the day, it's up to each and every one of us to like do it.
You know what they say? You can bring a horse to the card game table, but you can't make them play.
Yep.
That's what they say.
You can
right?
put the cards in front of them, but you can't make them pick it up and look at them.
Yeah.
All right.
And say, you've activated my trap card.
So, that's what we got. What do you think? Did we miss anything? Like, I think that pretty much runs it. Like, I think that pretty much runs the gamut. But what do you think? Like, let us know. Let us know if you think we missed anything. We'd very much be interested. Leave a comment, shoot us an email, and let us know.
Oh, I know what we missed.
What's that?
The card of the week.
Oh, the card of the week. That was a pretty good segue. I didn't even think about that one. I was ready to do a different segue, but the card of the week. So we've talked about quite a few Magic cards the past few weeks, but today we are talking about a Pokemon card.
Yay, Pokemon.
Jim.
Yeah.
Which one are we talking about
We're
today?
talking about Lysander.
Oh, Lysander.
Giovanni? What are we talking? Guzma? Who are we talking about, Dan?
Yes, all of them.
them.
So I actually didn't know this, right? So first of all, let's talk about the card, right? The card is Boss's Orders, okay? So it is a supporter. The one that I'm holding in front of me is Giovanni, okay? And the card states, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. So it's a supporter, and in Pokemon, you can only play one supporter each turn, okay? You can play as many items as you want, but supporters, you can only play one. Boss's Order is like a staple in like every deck, I feel like.
Yeah, I think every single deck plays it.
Because essentially what a lot of the times, like even you yourself, like as the player, you're going to have like one or two main Pokemon. Like I know in the deck that I play, my Mew Genesect list, like Mew is the big damage output, right?
Yep.
It's you want to take out the one that's doing all the damage, right? So a lot of the times, like if that Pokemon's not doing too hot, you'll pull him back and put him on your bench, and then you'll put a different Pokemon as your active Pokemon. So like if you knock out that Pokemon, it's not that big a deal. You can still go to your turn. You put out your big damage output Pokemon in your active slot, and then you're back in the game, right? But when your opponent drops that Boss's Order, that plan is now out the window.
Yeah, your whole thought of I need to pull my monster back so it doesn't die.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming back up front.
It's gonna die.
It's gonna die.
I mean, how many that has happened so many times to every Pokemon player, so many times.
So the original card was called Lysander, and it is the exact same effect. And that card has I've seen so many top decks of Lysander for game win, or some way to get a Lysander either from the deck or from the discard, and you Lysander for the win. It's extremely powerful
because like you're talking about for the win, right? There's also times where your Pokemon's health is low, right? That they're like 20, 30 HP away from being KO'd, right? So you pull them back, and then you put a full health Pokemon of like 240 HP or whatever into the active slot, and all right, well, my opponent can only do like 50 to 100 damage or something, right? So I'm safe.
Or as long as it's under 250 or whatever the amount
it is. Right. Then you're like, all right, well, I'm good. I'm safe unless they have Boss's Order, and then you're kind of screwed. And then they have it, right? So this card's not going anywhere. But like you were saying, is it used to be Lysander, right? But now you're gonna have to explain like the evolution, I guess, of the card, right? Because now it's turned into Boss's Order, and there's so many different variations out there, but all have like the big bad bosses from the games and the series on it.
So I'm fairly certain it started off with Lysander, who I believe was one of the big bad guy essentially from Generation 5 or Generation 6. And that was his card. It is the exact same effect. Target one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, put them into the active role. They later, once the card rotated out, everyone was very upset, right?
So the card is no longer played because it's rotated out. It's not legal in the current standard format.
Yeah. So a lot of people were thinking that they were going to reprint Lysander, except they were now in the 8th or the 7th generation of Pokemon at that time.
So Lysander is no longer a thing, right?
Exactly. So they wanted to make new cards for the new villain. And that's when they came out with Guzma. He was a little bit similar, but I also think you would take one of your bench Pokemon and put it into your active. So you both
switched. You both switched.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then, it's not the exact same card. It's very similar. Sometimes it's even better actually than just the Lysander. And then once again that card rotated out, they're just like, let's change it up a little bit.
Yep.
Now they came out with Boss's Order. Since Lysander was a boss in one of the older Pokemon, same thing with Guzma. He was the leader of the Skull Gang. I forget what it was called. And so they all had their orders.
Oh, you're talking about Guzma?
Yeah, Guzma.
Gotcha.
So he was the leader of whatever group for Sun and Moon.
Right.
And then Giovanni is the leader from Generation 1.
Yep, Team Rocket.
Exactly. So they came out with Boss's Order since these other ones were previous bosses, and they're like, all right, you know what? Let's just come out with this whole thing. And then I believe going into the future of every single standard format, these cards will then be printed over and over again.
Yeah. So Guzma, the Guzma card states switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. So still
very good card.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Extremely powerful.
So and the funny thing is you can have both Guzma and Boss's Order if you're playing in a format where
I believe you can't.
Really?
Because I know for Lysander you can't because it's the same card, but maybe for Guzma. But Lysander and Boss's Order, you cannot have more than 4.
That's right, because it's the exact same card. Yeah. But I was more saying Guzma.
Yeah.
So Guzma and Lysander, for example, are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could have made it like a special ruling in the game where you can't use Lysander or Guzma 4 of if you have, whatever amount of Boss's Order.
Right.
Or mix and match the amount.
Right. So, in my mind, it would be Lysander and Boss's Order. You can only have a play set of one of them or 2 and 2 because those are the same card. But then you also could potentially have Guzma because that is a different card. But again, it all depends on the format, what the rulings of the format are, and so on and so forth. So, dude, Boss's Order is when I first saw that card, good. I'm like, I'm literally thinking, all right, I'm good. I'm fine. I've got a full health Pokemon in my active slot. I'm all right. And then I see that card. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did what now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I wasn't surprised because it makes sense that there's cards that have that kind of effect. Yep. But yeah, it's very, very powerful. So, and then plus you think that even more so when you're doing it to your opponent.
The good thing about this card is it's not even just a pure offensive card.
Oh yeah.
Right? If you know your opponent has like a Pokemon that has a 3 retreat cost and there's no way they're retreating this one turn,
right.
You could be like, all right, let's bring that one out because I need a few turns to set up.
Right.
You know.
Right. Or same thing where I know that they're going to kill my opponent or my Pokemon next turn.
Yep.
So I need to put their weakest Pokemon in their active slot to where I'm going to be okay.
Yep.
And they have to retreat it, which I know they can't, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, like it's both offensive and defensive.
Yep.
And it's used and it's not like it's used more offensively than it is defensively either. It's probably used.
I would probably say it's more offensive.
I mean, it would
just because of how fast you can go in Pokemon.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true. Especially taking like 3 prize cards potentially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy too. So yeah, that is card of the week. I think we're on 10, 11. Dude, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think we're on 10. But yeah, that's this week's card of the week. If you ever play Pokemon, well, I want to hear. I want to hear your boss's order stories if you've got any. They've got. I know they're out there, guys. I know they are out there. So, do you have a card that you want to see featured on Card of the Week? Let us know. Shoot us an email. Let us know. Leave a comment down below if there's a card that you want us to feature in a future segment of Card of the Week. So, that's what we got for you this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode. That was a little different, but you know. I've been liking these episodes where we're trying to like help you guys or give you guys some tips on like some topics that are honestly pretty frequent, not just in the card game space really, but just in the tabletop space together. Like last week's episode, we gave you some tips that was hopefully beneficial for you guys, and then now this week with some more on a very, very different topic. What's so funny?
I'm just thinking about that intro. How to effectively play against D-bags.
Did you like that?
Oh, man. Yeah, that was good.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's all I got for you this week. Jim, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at JimMorganHNH.
You can find me on Twitter at _DGCampbell and on Instagram at Daniel.g.campbell. And then if you head over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com, you can find all of our social links for Hobbies and Happiness there. So again, check that out. You can find links to our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everything right there. So check that out. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. If you've got a topic that you want us to touch on or tackle, let us know, and we'll see what we can do for you. And also, you know, we did talk about some games that are new to me that we're trying to get into. What's a game that you've gotten into recently or that you've always been into and we haven't really talked about or seen on the channel? Let us know. So, all right, that's what I got for you this week. Thanks for being here, and we will catch you on the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.
You